Welcome to Horrorscape. I'm Luke, and I'm joined by Ricky.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us again here. This week, we're going to be taking a look at a modern-day slasher. It's a little different than what you would typically think of a slasher, but that movie is Terrifier.
Terrifyingly Terrifier.
Right, yeah.
What's wrong?
I'm fine. Why?
Keep looking over your shoulder.
What if that guy did this to your car?
What guy? The clown? You really think someone slashed my tires?
Well, he knows this is your car. He saw us getting into it earlier.
Hey, handsome!
Cut it out.
My friend wants your number.
Kill you.
Look, that guy was harmless. He was just some douchebag in a costume acting like a retard because it's Halloween.
What I want you to do now is just remain calm and stay on the line with me until the police arrive.
And the synopsis here of this movie is pretty straightforward, simple. You have a maniacal clown that terrorizes these three young women and anyone else that seems to get in his way during Halloween night in the city.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
We've seen it before, folks. Clowns sometimes equal deranged, psychopathic murderers or ancient monsters, stuff like that. I believe this even came out around the time of that whole clown scare thing where there were like clowns hiding in the woods and
Yeah, I think so.
all that, attacking
that's-
people.
Yeah. I didn't think about that, but yeah, I think it did come out around that time. But yeah, this is kind of like a new age slasher. It's not your typical slasher here. It breaks some rules along the way.
Oh, it breaks some rules.
Yeah, it breaks some rules. It's quite gory in some places, so if you haven't seen it, then you definitely should check it out. But just a word of warning for anyone that is a little sensitive to some gore. But I mean, that's what slashers are all about. But it does stick to the true slasher formula, sort of, in a way. I mean, in a slasher, you're not going to be looking for thick plot, twists and turns around every corner. You're there for a reason, and it's called a slasher for a reason. So
Slashing may occur.
right, yeah. So I mean, it's just going to be you have an evil force of some sort that is going to terrorize people, just as the synopsis stated. It's they're just going to terrorize these people, and typically, this is where you get creative death scenes, and that's what slashers are known for.
A very charismatic lead as well. The titular Terrifier, Art the Clown. Very well acted, but without any dialogue, but so much expression and character. And he's clearly enjoying what he's doing.
Absolutely.
He's a real motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's go ahead and just kind of introduce some of the cast and the guys involved with this movie. The director is Damien Leone. We have Art the Clown, played by David Howard Thornton. This isn't the first iteration of Art the Clown. Damien Leone did release an anthology short film, All Hallows Eve. There was also a short called Terrifier as well, which all leads to this full-length feature of Terrifier. But All Hallows Eve is it's like an anthology movie. Art the Clown is one of the I don't want to say like monsters because there's like monsters and aliens and stuff in it, but he's one of the characters
Wow.
in the movie. And Damien Leone, when he was speaking about this, said that that when people would watch All Hallows Eve or something, that everyone was telling him that Art the Clown really stuck out in that film and that he should do more with that. And speaking of, I had an opportunity to sit in on a panel and actually meet Damien Leone and David Howard Thornton, and they spoke a lot about this movie. So I'll be passing along, some of their comments and stuff.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, yeah. The first notable thing that Damien mentioned was that Art the Clown, the makeup and design was sort of based off of a Twilight Zone episode. And the episode is called 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. But there's a clown in that if you look back and maybe pull that up, sort of resembles Art a little bit. And then he said he kind of mixed that character with the Joker from the animated Batman series.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
The pointy nose and the pointy chin and that kind of stuff. You can definitely tell.
Even like his sense of humor, I mean, it's a little further than you ever see the Joker actually go. But it's a very playful derangement, very similar to the Joker. Right,
yeah. And he also mentioned that when he was thinking of doing some kind of killer clown, deranged clown, he had to keep in mind that Pennywise is kind of the king of this as far as that goes. So he wanted to do everything the opposite of Pennywise, kind of to separate them as much as you could. Pennywise is vocal, he speaks. Art does not. Pennywise has hair. Art is bald. Pennywise is colorful. He's got a colorful costume, and Art is black and white.
Yeah, he's kind of got this Pagliacci, the clown kind of thing, where you could almost see him stepping out of like a black and white silent film or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like that silent film almost acting, where it's just like so like physical and over the top, and
I didn't hear David Thornton mention this firsthand, but I have read that he had some experience being a mime in the past, so that may have helped influence some of the mannerisms of Art Clown. So,
I mean, basically, all we're saying is the only reason to watch this movie, if any, is for Art the Clown. He's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, and David did mention that he's a very physical actor. He said one of his biggest role models was Doug Jones, so he's another physical type actor.
Oh yeah, the Doug Jones is he's in a lot of Guillermo del Toro movies. He was the Pale Man in Pan's Labyrinth and Pan, and most recently Shape of the Water. He was the fish man.
Yeah,
sexy fish man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in a lot of Guillermo del Toro movies. So,
he was also in Hocus Pocus. He was the zombie that got his shot.
That's right. He was. That's very true. So let's see. We're gonna kind of jump into the movie a little bit here.
And there are actually a couple of spoiler spots here, and we're gonna be very careful with that.
Yeah, we would suggest pretty much at this point, maybe just if you haven't seen it and don't want anything ruined, go ahead and maybe watch the movie beforehand. Stop and watch it because it's definitely worth a watch for sure. It's pretty cool. It's a very strange kind of love letter to the slashers of the 80s and 70s. Or listening to Damien kind of talk. He's this guy that has like an old school love for horror. I mean, it's like he grew up with it, he has said, and it's something that he loves, and you can tell in the movie. And it's cool because he kind of did something refreshing. So I was thinking, you haven't really seen a standout slasher, especially in these modern days. Like, you don't really see that. When you talk about slashers, you still kind of think of the 70s and 80s, but, outside of Scream, maybe.
Yeah.
There was those 90s slashers that kind of brought the genre back a little bit, and I feel like Terrifier could possibly do the same for,
Bring back the slasher. Yeah, it's been a long time since like a new slasher villain has been introduced that actually like has some pull to it. I guess Jigsaw, but at the same time, I don't exactly count him as a slasher because he puts people into slashing situations more so than hands-on. But and also Jigsaw is technically multiple different people, but also that's the same for Scream, I guess. But they are at least hands-on and they like straight up murder people instead of you might find a way out of this. But yeah, Art the Clown, he's more like an old school kind of slasher villain with, almost a little Freddy Krueger in there.
Almost, yeah. And it's crazy to think about because they did mention, while we're on the subject, they mentioned this during the panel. They said, they kind of had this moment where they realized that for, this generation, especially the teenage younger crowd, like this Art could be their Freddy Krueger, their Jason Voorhees. This is what they're going to grow up probably seeing as the slasher for their time.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
If they do some sequels, at least that could probably do it. I think they need a bigger budget next time. I don't normally say that because I'm always interested to see what people can do with budgetary restraints. And I feel like a lot of imagination has to come from that. But they had a little bit. Most of this, pretty much this entire movie is in a warehouse. So that's a low budget 101. And I think they worked well with it, of course. But if they, I don't know, certain stuff with Art, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see him in even a completely different setting.
Yeah. Well, Damien did mention as well that he had a lot of background in doing his own special effects. So he did a lot of this. They had a tiny crew. They didn't have a stunt crew. And it's super impressive for what.
Yeah, they're pretty great effects, honestly.
Yeah, it's really great for such a small crew. He didn't mention the numbers or anything, but you can tell it's a small crew. And, for these guys to pull this off for probably the budget they had and the crew they had is pretty special, I think. It would take some hard work by a few people to do this. And I'm sure they did. So
it's some good low budget filmmaking, just like where can I save some money here? Oh, I'll do that. I'll just do it. Oh, I have a background in makeup. Yeah, I'll just do that. And it looks it's presented in a way it almost like looks like it maybe has a little higher budget. I think I was reading on here that there was like one scene of CGI and it's actually like done so well I could not tell.
Yeah, I know what scene you're talking about. And well, we won't spoil it, but I had to go back and look at it after I heard it was CGI because I didn't believe it either. I was like, well, really? That was CGI? You go back and look at it and you can tell after you think. But at first glance, as you're watching it, you don't really notice. So
yeah, it probably just shows it just the right amount of time for your brain not to process the fake, I guess.
Right.
But I just now found that out a few minutes ago and I haven't watched it after that. So now I have another reason to watch this movie again.
Speaking of, so when I first saw this movie, I just kind of stumbled upon it. I was aware of All Hallows Eve. I was kind of aware of the Terrifier short. And I think I had seen them in the past and kind of maybe glanced over it, as bad as that seems to sound. But
well, it's got kind of we've all seen like those like straight to VHS like clown horror movie covers, and it kind of has one of those covers. It is just a picture of Art the Clown, and it's like okay, but
and like I've mentioned before, I'm not the whole. There was a whole slew of those weird like clown killer movies that had come out. Like there was a bunch of Killjoy movies. There's several on Netflix if you look. And I just kind of just skimmed over them all.
Lumped in with one or the other.
Right, yeah. Until I started hearing some buzz about this one. I was like, man, there's a lot of people talking about this. Like I actually should go back and watch it. But I still went in watching it the first time with that kind of like, okay, I want to put it on and watch it. And the first time I watched it, I was kind of like, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's all right, And then as it went on, I started thinking about it more. I was like, man, this scene was really cool, or oh, that was really cool. Well, they did this in a different way, and I got to think. I was like, man, I should just watch this again. So I watched it a second time, and that's when I was just like, holy shit, this is great. This is a really good movie. So
it really, especially for anybody who's just really fucking loves slasher movies, this is gonna hit the spot.
Yeah, and it does.
Wow. You don't have to watch your box collection of Friday the 13th as much now because there's something new you can sink your teeth into.
Yeah, and I do, like we were talking earlier, I do feel like that there should be sequels to this. I'll get into that at the end of the episode. Damien did give a little knowledge, share a little bit of information about the future of art, but I'm going to save that to the end because it kind of ties in with the end of the movie. So
we've praised this. We talked about it. I guess we can get into the movie itself now.
Yeah, we'll get into the movie here. And again, there are multiple spoiler points here, so
we'll give a shout before we're about to cross that threshold, but just be warned, be on guard, be ready.
Yep. So
it's going to happen.
We do advise you to go back and watch it before continuing on listening. So, or listen and just go back and watch it anyway. So
yeah, if you don't care about like secrets being revealed, because some people are like that.
Well, Terrifier is going to start us out here we're in the city, and we have two gals who've been out Halloween partying that night, and they go to get back in their car, and they realize that they've been drinking a little bit, so they probably shouldn't drive anywhere. And
I respect them for that.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it takes some convincing,
Yeah.
They decide,
responsible.
Yeah. They're like, hey, well, let's go over here and we'll grab a bite to eat, and then try and soak up some of it, and then drive if we feel up to it. So.
And as they're discussing this, they notice a creepy ass clown walking down an alleyway with a fucking garbage bag.
Yeah, with a trash bag.
Yeah, just looking terrifying, and this immediately like creeps out. Tara.
Yeah,
yes. Tara. Yeah, it's the two girls are Tara and Dawn, and Dawn, who's like whatever, she's having a fun time.
Mm-hmm. And let's mention too here that Tara is played by Jenna Cannell. I'm gonna butcher these names. Dawn is played by Catherine Corcoran. Probably. Yeah. So I doubt she would ever hear this, but apologies if you do.
Yeah.
And Tara's sister also comes to play in this. Her name's Victoria, and she's played by Samantha Scafidi. And they chose some here for this one. They do a really good job with their characters as well, just to point that out. I think they do.
Yeah, I think this movie's got pretty decent acting for the most part. There's a couple parts I was like, these are your friends that were just available, so you just threw them in there. But mainly like most of the male characters, I'd say.
Right. Yeah. So
this is a female primarily film too, besides art consistently.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so the characters Tara and Dawn, they're going to go for a pizza at this little pizza place late at night. Tara is still kind of weirded out by the clown that she saw. Well, they're sitting there, and then Art walks in and decides to sit in a booth kind of adjacent to where they're sitting.
So he can stare daggers into Tara. Like, he does not, like, break eye contact, I don't think.
No, it's fantastic. It's like,
really
the way David Thornton just did the entire diner scene is awesome on his part.
Yeah, she feels like legitimately upset by it.
And even if you're watching it, if you watch it with like truly get into it, and you just look at his mannerisms and his expressions, I mean, you get kind of creeped out a little bit too. You're like, damn.
It almost feels like he's staring at you.
Yeah,
it's like, dude,
creepy. It is so creepy. But Dawn is the
fun one.
The fun one. She's the drunkest one out of the two. So Tara's creeped out by it, and Dawn's just kind of like, oh, it's just a guy. It's Halloween. He's dressed up. He's just having fun, and that's pretty logical for Halloween night,
Yeah, we've seen creepos on Halloween night. So then she decides to hop in his lap and take a selfie with him, and
Yeah.
he's still like just staring at Tara.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he
No
goes,
emotion.
then he goes, then he goes and blows up the bathroom with.
Well,
It's
before
like a,
that,
oh,
after the selfie, he's still kind of staring at him, and in a pretty funny moment, this he gets up to go, he goes and steals some of the change off the table and buys a ring from the little coin machine there, and takes it over to Tara and like puts it on her finger, and he's still like got this creepy smile, and it's just it's just all creepy. And then still at this point, like Dawn thinks it's pretty funny and is like making jokes, he likes you, like this kind of stuff. And then Tara's just like completely freaked out. But then, yeah, he goes and does something in the bathroom. I have no idea.
oh, I know what he did. He took a massive shit. It shows the guy later cleaning up shit and piss.
Well, there's blood too.
I mean, what does this guy eat? Well,
Yeah.
we have some ideas, but
Yeah. Right.
yeah, it's can't pass easily, I'm sure. But yeah,
Yeah. And he
I
writes,
don't think he just had a bag of shit in his
no.
pocket. That was all him.
He writes his name Art on the toilet there. So yeah, it's a pretty crazy things go down in that bathroom, I'm sure. Well, he gets thrown out for that. The two workers at the little pizza joint, I guess, kind of walk in, and you see him like one of them dragging Art out, saying, "Hey, you get out of here!" What? Yeah, he throws him out, and Art's still taunting him, the entire, even outside the door, and he opens the door and throws his bag out, his black trash bag at him too, and
yeah, they get that the girls they leave after that and get back to their car and discover that one of the tires is popped.
it's either popped or been slashed or something's happened. So
Probably slashed.
probably slashed, yes.
And the spare is already on the car. That's not a good idea. Those are spares, not real tires.
They decide at that point that they're going to try and get some help. Tara's going to call her sister Victoria and kind of ask if they can get picked up. She agrees. She's got homework and stuff to do, but she agrees.
Because her roommate decides to have sex right next to her.
Yeah. But during this time, while they're kind of waiting, we're going to see that Art goes back into the pizza diner at this point and has killed one of the workers, cuts his head off. The other worker discovers this, but cuts his head off and kind of makes a jack-o'-lantern out of the head with fire.
Makes me think back to Halloween 2018.
Which they joked about during the panel. They were like, "Hey, the Halloween guys, we did this first. This was our idea." They were totally joking. They weren't saying that. They was like, "Yeah, we did this first," kind of thing. But yeah, and then the other worker finds this head, and then Art attacks him and cuts his hand off.
Cuts off half of his hand, which is almost even worse. Just like he gets his thumb. He keeps his thumb, but not
he does keep his
digits.
And then after that, Art stabs him in the side of the head with a knife and kills him
several times.
Yeah.
This is when I like, if I hadn't been paying attention, it had my full attention at this point. I was like, holy shit.
Right. Yeah. This is the moment where you're like, okay, this is going to be a little bit gnarly. Like,
yeah.
This is going to get crazy. And you're going to realize that, and then you're still not going to be prepared for what happens coming up.
Yeah.
So. But we have the two friends, Tara and Dawn, sitting in the car. They're waiting on Tara's sister, and Tara realizes that she really has to pee and says that she's unable to, I guess, quote, pop a squat in the street like Dawn would be able to. So she decides that she sees a guy, an exterminator who's working at a warehouse. And she's like, I'm going to go ask him and see if, I can use the bathroom. So that's where she gets out of the car, leaves Dawn in the car, and takes off.
And this is like some abandoned building. The guy's there to bug bomb the building. Sadly, we never see the bug bomb go off. But
right.
So Tara's in there using the bathroom, and Dawn's outside, still waiting on Victoria. And she hears on the radio that there has been a murder at the pizza place they were just at, or that little homicide. And the cops ride by her, and then she hears the car door open. She's like, "Oh, Tara, thank God." Obviously, it's Art the Clown, and then
Art the Clown staring at her.
Yeah, you don't.
Creepily. Like this movie is just worth watching for David Thornton's just expressions and his mannerisms. Yeah. It's worth that alone. 100%.
Yeah, when you see him, you know you're fucked.
Yeah.
So we don't see what happens there, and it goes back to Tara, and she meets a cat lady.
Yeah, she's called Cat Lady.
Yeah, even though I don't think she has a cat, she has a baby doll.
Mm-hmm. She had a baby doll named Emily that she refers to as her actual child.
Her actual daughter. But in some scenes, she's talking to the baby doll, and she calls the baby doll mommy.
Really?
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. She's like, "Don't worry, mommy, it's okay."
I wonder if she's kind of projecting herself through the baby doll.
Yeah, the caring.
I wish I would have noticed that because I would have asked them about it. But
yeah, she's just like all types of crazy. But
yeah.
She's obviously squatting in this abandoned building. Anyways, Tara ends up stumbling back to the hallway and sees Art standing there staring at her, and he just like kind of fake lunges at her, and she takes off, and he chases her for a while.
Yeah, he's just standing there, and he's got kind of like a scalpel thing. His hands are kind of up, almost in like the free.
Ta-da!
He's just standing there, like smiling. He's covered in blood. And he's just like staring at her. And he kind of just lunges a little bit and she just takes off.
Yeah, he ends up, they go on, there's a bit of a chase. There's a lot of this, of just like the people hiding in this building, this warehouse, and Art after them and stuff like that. So no need to get into the details in that, except that he at one point stabbed her in the leg a bunch. And but she ends up, fast forward to like she, finally gets upstairs and sees what's his name, Mike, the bug guy. And she's just about to get his attention. He's got headphones on and he's listening to music. And then Art snags her and then injects her with something, and she passes out, waking up duct taped to a chair.
Right. And then when she finally wakes up down there, she's going to look across the room and notice that Dawn has been strapped to some chains or something to the ceiling, and she's hanging upside down. A little bit of information here that's cool. Damien said that him and a buddy built that rig, and the night before shooting they were trying to figure out, is this going to hold her while we're doing this? It's not going to collapse and hold her body weight. And his buddy was like, well, if it'll hold me, it'll hold her. So he gets up there and straps himself in and is hanging upside down, and then he's like, okay, I'm ready to come down. And he said it was extremely difficult. He's like, I never realized how difficult it would be to try and like hoist somebody up and get them off of that.
Oh man.
But they just wanted to make sure that it would hold her while she did it. And he mentioned too that she had, during filming, Catherine had pretty much stayed hung upside down for most of the shots. Like she would get up, in between a little bit, but for the most part, she would just stay in that contraption, which is, I know, which is crazy. That's some dedication on her part. So,
yeah, I mean, I know some people, they like have these like workout machines where it's like a rig kind of like that, where you're just hanging upside down. You have to do like sit-ups or something like that. But I don't know. I feel like the way that one's set up though seems a little awkward because it's got her legs like spread in a weird way, and I don't know. I can't imagine what that would be like.
Right.
But the props to her. That's some dedication.
Definitely, yeah. And again, this is kind of getting into a little bit of a spoiler scene here. So another warning. This is one of the bigger scenes.
This scene actually kind of upsets me.
Yeah. It's
stuff like this, just like, the stuff like this just like it makes me think back to like, you remember that scene in Antichrist?
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about, like that shit upsets me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of scenes in Antichrist just like upset me in that same way, and this is one of them. At least there's no like close-up shots, but
right, yeah. But So here, Tara's strapped to the chair. She's looking at her friend Dawn, which again we said was hanging upside down, legs spread apart in the air, half naked. And Art gets a handsaw and pretty much saws her in half. And you see about 80% of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's pretty brutal.
Upside down, saw in half. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Watch it and you'll see. We won't go into a lot of the gory details, but watch it and you will definitely see. One little factoid about this scene too. David at the panel was mentioning that the intestines that you see there, they were actual kind of intestines in a prosthetic, but they accidentally left them out overnight instead of refrigerating them before the scene. So when he was cutting in half, he accidentally cut into one and they had done like rotted, like spoiled. So he said you could just have that. He just got hit by that smell of just like rotten meat. That it was just like, he's just like, oh man, it smelled terrible. But we'll factoid about that scene. But
fucking awful.
Yeah, yeah. It's a brutal scene, and definitely gonna make many lists from now until eternity of slasher kills, I'm sure.
Well, at this point, Tara's had enough. She just watched her best friend get slowly cut in half with a rusty saw. So she ends up breaking out of the chair she's taped to, and smacks Art pretty good with like the arm of the chair, and then she just takes off. And this leads into another like cat and mouse kind of thing of like him chasing her and everything like that. But she ends up getting the upper hand on him she has like a 2x4.
Yeah. Like
just slaps the shit out of him with it.
Yeah. Art gets beat up a bit in this too.
Yeah, pretty bad. Also, we're going into spoiler territory again.
Yeah. From this point on, let's just go ahead and just say that it's
spoiler from here on out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yep. It's spoiler from here on out. But yeah. She beats the shit out of Art with his 2x4, and he's he's laying on the ground trying to recover.
And she thinks she's Nev Campbell right here for a second.
She's like, I've got this asshole whooped, but
she's like, get up, take some more medicine, get up.
Yeah. She's like, get up, motherfucker. But yeah.
He slowly starts rising.
Cleverly, I guess, or some people may shame on this in a slasher movie, but
this did also upset me too.
Well, it was meant
I've come to accept it. It was just initially I was like, the fuck?
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah. But it was meant to. So what we're talking about is
it worked well.
is Art, he pulls a gun from his shoe area, either sock shoe area, and shoots Tara in the leg. A lot of people were kind of like, it's a slasher movie. No slashers uses guns or anything. And that was also a point brought up at the panel. And he said, well, look at this. He said, if you're watching Terrifier, Art has one goal. He's evil, and he's going to do evil things. He doesn't care how he does it. He doesn't care if it's fair. He's the epitome of everything bad. He's going to use anything that he possibly can. And it's a shock. It's a total shock from what you would think from a slasher, which I think lends a bit of awesomeness to this movie too, that he had the guts to pull a gun into a slasher film, and it worked, and he pulled it off like really well.
Honestly, it does kind of upgrade the scary. I mean,
yeah, it does.
I mean, in real life, if someone pulls a gun on you,
you're
gonna shit your pants. That's fucking scary.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it makes sense. The more you think about it, it makes sense. Or this, like I was said, like Art is a motherfucker.
Yeah, he's
like, I don't care how you get dead. I will make you dead.
Right.
No matter what. That's what I'm here for.
Exactly.
He's not looking for punishment to himself. He's looking to punish other people.
Mm-hmm.
He shoots her 2 more times before he goes and reloads. He shoots her in the side, and then he shoots her through the cheek, like Jimmy from season 2 of Boardwalk Empire style. Then he goes and reloads, and she's just laying there, incapacitated, fucked up, but like still like she got shot. She's already been shot in the head, but just like it's like, damn, she's fucked. Like, but then you're thinking, well, maybe she'll just somehow pull this off, and she'll be gone when he gets back.
Yeah.
While he's gone reloading, he gets a text message on Dawn's phone from Victoria, who is outside the building, tells her to go around. But I feel like that was important to note because just that little bit gives you hope for her.
Yeah, it does, just a little bit, and
which makes it more fucked up.
I think you're meant to have a little bit of false hope at that point. I'm sure that was done on purpose.
Yeah, I just point out I really like that because it makes the insult even more insulting. I like that. It's just like fuck you, audience.
Yep.
But in a clever way.
Yeah. But Art does come back, and she hasn't gone anywhere.
Nope.
And there is no hope for her. And then he just basically unloads a clip into her at that point.
Into her face.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to when he killed the pizza guy, just hacked away, just like overkill, like you're fucking dead.
Right. And if you watch, this is another thing that was pointed out by Damien, but if you watch this scene, he said that the gun scene was, he purposely made it to where Art was not smiling. There was no tongue-in-cheek funny.
No emotion. It's cold.
No emotion. It is cold as stone. And he said that was the one scene that he did not want anyone in the theater to even giggle at.
Or find amusing at all.
Yeah, he did not want anybody to find that one bit of music. That's why Art's not smiling, and he's just stone cold, and there's no little gags, no little, right? Yeah, none of that. Just stone cold, just murder, pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty rough too. I mean, you've definitely seen people get shot in movies, but man, this one's just got a feel to it.
Well, also just the fact that it's a classic bait and switch, but done pretty well. Where you've been with this girl for majority of this movie, and you feel like she's smart, she's self-reliant. It seems like just what you are presented with for this character, and so you're like, okay, this is the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Not at all. She's gone.
Dead as hell.
Yeah.
Both of the girls you start off with they're dead already.
Yeah.
And maybe halfway through the movie.
Yeah. And while this is going on, I mean, Victoria does show up. She's trying to get in. She's trying to figure out where they're at and that kind of stuff. But she hasn't ran into Art yet. But we do see that the cat lady sees this kind of going on.
Well, she watched him ice off Tara, and she has I will say here she has a moment of clarity where she actually can understand what's going on.
Definitely, yeah, she's brought back to reality a little bit there, but she goes off and she tries to find help. She's trying to look for somebody to help and say that people's been murdered. She does run into Mike and mentions, that people's been killed, but of course she's the crazy cat lady. So
yeah, he didn't even know this chick was here, probably. Yeah,
not many people are gonna believe her when she's, thinks that a doll is a living child. But the exterminator does have a run-in with Art here too as well. Art kind of sneaks up on him, sees him, and hits him in the head with a hammer, I believe. Yeah,
and he had been trying to call another exterminator.
Yeah, because he knows things were kind of getting a little crazy there, so he calls his colleague he gets hit before he can talk to him. And then the whole time Victoria is still trying to find her sister and Dawn. And then next we're going to see the cat lady kind of approach Art because Art has her baby doll.
Yeah, little Emily, and he's in this this almost made me think of the scene in the first Alien where they put Dallas in the air system, whatever, to hunt down the alien, and the whole time this is happening, you're like, oh, there's no way he's making it out of this alive. Yeah. That's how I felt for the cat lady in this. She's in this narrow corridor approaching this horrible monster.
Yeah.
And it's this isn't going to go your way, probably.
No, definitely not.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
And it goes horribly wrong for her.
Yeah. She tries to entice him with the idea of maybe he just needed a mother's love.
Right.
And he plays, he starts sucking his thumb and it's like,
yeah.
oh, maybe I do. And that's bullshit.
Oh, yeah. At this point, as the viewer, you're like, okay,
this guy's just fucking evil.
Yeah. Art is just fucked up, and he's going to play with people. He's a clown, so he's going to mess with people. So,
yeah.
But then we're going to see Victoria still roaming around outside. She finds like a little stairwell that leads down that could lead inside. So she starts to head that way. She's like calling out her sister's name, and then being the true fucking psycho that Art is.
Oh, this is.
He pops up from around the corner there, and he's attacked the cat lady off screen, but he is wearing her scalp as hair. He is completely naked, and he has the bust of the cat lady attached to his chest.
He's wearing her tits.
Yes.
And he's besides that, he's completely butt-ass naked.
Right.
And, and this is pretty fucking creepy to me. It's especially just like the way he's like
the way he moves.
Around.
Yeah.
You almost expect like goodbye horses to come in all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like it's whoo. Yeah,
it's creepy. And this is the scene that when I first watched it, I was like, I don't know if I really liked how they did that. Then I watched it and thought about it. I was like, man, that is super creepy. And I was like, yeah, this is good. This is good stuff. So kind of like a little chase is going to ensue there, but he hears the colleague show up that Mike called outside honking the horn, and he's going to go out and try and kind of investigate that while Victoria is running around for scared shitless, obviously.
Yeah. He got a phone call from his colleague, didn't even talk to him, couldn't contact with him again. It was the middle of the night, he was sleeping, but just off that alone, he was like, you know what? I better go out there.
Yeah, yep. And the colleague ends up getting in by a spare key he knows that was hidden there. And he's killed pretty brutally too. I mean, he's stabbed in the top of the head, and then his head is just sawn off.
He gets turned into a Pez dispenser for a minute.
Yeah, pretty much. His head gets sawn off, and then Art kind of uses the ground to pull the knife out of his head, and then kicks his head across the room. And then he is back at chasing Victoria.
Yeah,
where she's gonna be in she goes and hides in a locker, sort of. It's like a locker or some type of metal cabinet, but she can see through. And Art, I mean, there's not even like any thought to whether or not Art knows that she's there. He knows. I
feel like he knows exactly where everybody is at every given moment somehow. Like he finds that little like unicycle thing, not unicycle, the little tricycle. He's riding that around, and she's like just kind of barely hiding in like a doorway. Yeah. But I just feel like the way his eyes and his stuff is moving, he rode over there just to remind her he's still around and he knows where she is. Yeah,
he definitely knows. But she's gonna run out from there, and it's gonna ensue like a little chase battle between these two. And she ends up finding her sister too.
Oh wait!
Not yet, but
you skipped a part. Or just like one thing I want to point out, because I actually something about this resonated with me, because you see it in movies all the time. Art ends up like disappearing and then like appearing behind Victoria with like some plastic wrap,
like saran wrap.
Over her face, and is trying to smother her. And you always see this in movies, and I don't know how everybody else is, but I've always just thought like just like poke your holes through some holes in there and like rip it like it's plastic. Like some plastics have more heavy duty, like industrial plastic, but I always figure that's what I would be trying to do at least. But she just straight up breaks it, and then Art just like looks really confused for a second. It's like it's just Like, what, that wasn't very
Yeah, it's
strong.
almost like he has seen Art has seen that in past movies, and it's like they don't try to bust out of it or try and rip it; they just suffocate.
Yeah, suffocate and pass
And
out and whatever.
when she's smart enough to rip the mouth hole open and break free of it, he's like, "Huh, well, somebody did know what to do." Yeah,
yeah. Then she stumbles in and finds Tara, and
well, she fights back a little bit. She has like this spike and stabs it in his foot. And,
oh yeah, that's how she gets away from him. Yeah, she stabs him in the foot. He's like, "Oh." Yeah, she has a few minutes to mourn Tara, and then he shows up with this whip made of a chain whip thing with like scissors and scalpels. You see him make it in the very first scene when he's in his creepy lair or whatever, but he just starts going to town on this poor chick. But Mike Ex Machina shows up. He is in fact alive. He just got knocked out, and he but anyways, yeah, they take off and go into this other room that has a lock on the door. It looks like a science-y room from like an old 1920s movie. It's got like bleep blop lights and computer stuff, and he makes a phone call for the police, and the police actually answer. You think that like something's gonna get cut or something, but no, he makes a phone call to the police, and the police are on their way now. And instead of barricading themselves in that room as they should have, Mike's like, no, fuck that shit, I'm getting her out of here, I'm taking her to the hospital. And they end up stumbling into a locked door once again, and Mike is killed in another scene that reminds me of Halloween 2018.
Maybe we're seeing a pattern here.
Honestly, this scene would have been a little better if right when he crushed Mike's head with his foot, you just hear like a bicycle horn.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I always expect that from anything clown related. And he tries to get Tara, and she stabs him in the eye. Victoria. Sorry.
Yeah. Victoria.
We've changed our main characters in the last little while. Yeah, stabs him in the eye with a scalpel and gets away. She runs outside and then runs back into another building.
Yeah, the building is kind of like two big barn doors that are chained together. And
she just keep out.
Yeah, it's just keep out on it, and she slides between the doors there. And this is a pretty cool scene. I like kind of how Art messes with her here, but for some reason Art either is too big to fit in there or just doesn't care to try and slide in there. But
he's got it trapped right there.
Yeah. And another kind of odd bit of comic relief, he's still taunting her, trying to get in, like sticking his head in there, and he's got his horn, he's like honking it at her, with this creepy fucking look on his face the whole time. He decides that the way he's going to get in there is to get in a car and just drive through the doors. So that's what he does.
Pretty solid plan. Ends up hitting Victoria with the car too, and knocking her out. And police sirens are already like
in the distance.
In the distance, you can hear them. And
Art is like hovering over Victoria at this point, and the one scene you see, like, takes his finger and wipes her blood and licks it, and then it's implied that he's like mutilating her face in some sort of manner,
eating her face.
Yeah.
Chowing down.
And the cops pull up and they see what's going on, and they're like, guns drawn.
Put your fucking hands up.
Yeah, put your hands up, and all. And Art's covered in blood, and
they're pretty sure he did it.
They're fairly certain he done it, but Art is going to shoot himself in the mouth and kill himself on the spot.
He just spins around, already has the gun in his mouth, and just is like, toodaloo, and then blows his head off. Yeah.
Yep, kills himself right there. And then they're going to be, kind of ambulances showing up, that kind of stuff. They take the bodies to the morgue and kind of explain to the coroner what's going on, that crazy people are out on Halloween, this kind of stuff happens. And
Oh yeah, then one of my favorite like corner movie trope things happens where he
Yeah.
insists on he needs somebody to go out and get him some food, and they're
Some
like,
food.
and they comment, "Oh man, it's so fucked up that you eating full with dead bodies," and he's like, "I saw a baby in a microwave once. Fuck off."
Yeah.
Like, had to ask.
hmm
Yeah, so he yeah, this is clearly shot in like a college dorm like laundry room,
Yeah.
by the way. Yeah, but anyways, low budget, whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
that. But yeah, he looks at Mike's dead body, that his face is all crushed in, and then he looks at
Right.
Art, and Art just looks kind of fucking hilarious and
hmm
terrifying. He's just got a big grin on his face, and then the lights go out and like the radio messes up, and all this stuff. There's like a thunderstorm for a moment maybe, and Art just comes back to life and kills this guy.
He comes back to life and he reaches up and he grabs him by the throat and he's just strangling this guy. And here we see another kind of odd slasher trope, and I never really thought about it until Damien brought it up talking about this scene. He said that in all of your major slasher movies, eventually the slasher ends up having some supernatural element to them. If you think about it, like think about Jason. I mean, he ends up being basically a deadite that is revived from the dead. You can't be killed. Think about Michael Myers. He has that curse. And then
Curse
Freddy,
of the Thorn.
right? And then Freddy is obviously supernatural to a degree. So he kind of made mention, that he just went ahead and introduced that element to Art.
Maniac Cop.
Yeah. He introduced that element to Art at the very beginning. So, it provides more to work with and maybe enhance the story of Art instead of like in Jason, where it seems to be a reason for him to still be alive. The supernatural element is what keeps Jason alive.
Oh, yeah.
And so he said, he was going to go ahead and introduce that to Art. That way there was, he could use that going forward. After that scene, we do see that Victoria, she did survive. She's in a hospital in a wheelchair, and her face is completely mangled. And I kind of saved, her face is fucked up. And I kind of saved this, I skipped over a part at the beginning for a reason here. There's a scene at the beginning that I wanted to talk about during this scene because, again, it's like a spoiler and I didn't kind of want to give it away. But at the very beginning of the movie, you see a talk show host that's talking to this girl that's been super disfigured. She's
the only survivor of a massacre that
happened. She's the only survivor of a massacre. After they have the interview kind of off camera, the talk show host is talking on her phone in the back in the dressing room, and it's kind of saying, if I ever looked like that, somebody kill me, and, kind of talking bad about the girl who survived this.
Yeah, she's been a huge dickhead.
Yeah, and the girl actually shows up backstage, and I assume hears all this and attacks her and ends up mutilating her face and probably killing the talk show host.
Oh, is she still alive after that? Because you can hear, like, when the girl starts laughing maniacally, the ragged breath. I only noticed that because I had the subtitles on. I was like, oh, ragged breath while she's laughing, so it has to be that chick. So, yes.
Well, I mean, she
it's almost even better, though, because, she disfigured her so that she didn't die, and she has to live with the same shit that she has now.
And that's, I mean, you could either say either way, that she did survive it, or, she could have.
Or maybe she'll kill herself.
You never know.
Like she mentioned she would do if she ever ended up like that.
Yeah. So you find out that at the end that Victoria was actually that girl on the talk show. She's the one that survived the horrible massacre. Yeah.
Yeah, because like the whole movie, like you see that scene in the beginning happen, and you're wondering, like, well, I wonder who's gonna be this girl that ends up disfiguring this woman.
Yeah.
She's all we know is she's got a messed up face and she's brunette. And there's like 3 actresses that meet that description throughout the movie, and turns out it's Victoria.
Yeah.
So that sucks for her.
Yeah, definitely.
Nobody made it through this movie unscathed.
But that's about where this movie ends here. So it kind of leaves you with not much good that happens.
Yeah, nothing. Nobody learned anything from
Right.
this. There's no happy lesson at the end of this movie. Or
One thing I mentioned earlier, I did want to bring up at the kind of near the end of this is that Damien and David did mention that there is a script ready for Terrifier 2. It is going to happen. They obviously couldn't share anything really about it. Damien did kind of hint that the supernatural element that we see in art at the end of this movie is going to be a little bit more known throughout the next movie. So you may see a little bit of some origin as to where maybe that has come from or where that's from. Now, again, it's kind of what he said. So I don't know for sure. He just kind of dropped little hints about things. So, but that's what he had said. So maybe I'm thinking my takeaway from what he said was that in Terrifier 2, we'll see a little bit of the supernatural element of art explained. And of course, we'll probably see a lot of grisly death.
well, it's something we can all look forward to.
Right, yeah.
More grisly murders.
Yeah, definitely. Like we always do, what's your overall take on the movie? What did you think?
I enjoyed it. Well, enjoy is a tough one to say, but I have a, one of my favorite slasher movies is like High Tension, I'd say, and this definitely like reminded me of that in certain parts. But it had a interesting character to it to drive the film as well, and I can't say this is like my favorite movie ever, of course, but
No.
at the same time, like it was a good. I felt like it was a good callback to like more like grimy, nasty slasher movies, and this felt refreshing, and it definitely. I mean, it's super violent, and
Yeah.
in some parts not. So I feel like a couple parts maybe you can see where the effect is. But then the other parts, though, it's actually shot in such a good way that it's kind of, you can't really tell, but not too cartoonishly over the top.
Right.
And it's got some cold ass moments, but you're either into that or drawn to that, or you're not. If you're not, I wouldn't recommend it. If you are, hell yeah, check this one out.
Definitely.
It's all up to taste.
Yeah. And I'm gonna agree. I really love the movie. I've seen it 4 times probably in the last few months. And every time I watch it, I seem to like it a little more. But again, like you had said, I'm a huge slasher fan. I love slashers. So I, of course, liked it. I, too, think it was a really fucked up love letter to the slashers of the 80s, even maybe some giallo, something like that. But it is refreshing. It's something new. It has the potential to revitalize that old school kind of feeling of a slasher that we haven't seen. I mean, and even looking back at, and people say, well, Scream and stuff wasn't that long ago, or there's movies like Hatchet. But there's, I mean, Scream and stuff was great, but it wasn't like that like a video nasty type movie like Terrifier is. And like we seen in the 80s with things like Intruder and Prowler and Maniac, like those type of things. We haven't seen anything like that since then. So, and maybe Hatchet, I would give it a little bit of credit to there, but this definitely caught on, I think, way more than Hatchet did with people, and people seem to love it. And I would definitely recommend it if you're into slashers, or just looking for something a little different.
It definitely has grown more popular than a lot of other indie horror movies, or more low budget indie horror movies. It also kind of made me think of that movie Murder Party. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh God, it's great. But just the whole like warehouse, setting, and I don't know, just like one location, and like just crazy shenanigans ensue.
I think there's an overwhelming amount of potential here. I also think that Damien, he's writing, directing it. I think he's got a passion for these types of movies, and if anybody was to come out with something that could potentially get on the same level as your Nightmare on Elm Street series, your Friday the 13th, he's got a shot at it at least, which is more than what I can think of any other slasher that's come out for a while outside of Scream.
Yeah, it's definitely could. This could have feet as a franchise for sure.
Oh, definitely. I could see that happening for sure. So, but yeah, so we'll both definitely recommend it. But anything else you want to throw in here?
No, nothing. I think that wraps it up pretty good.
Yeah.
Did we decide what we were doing next week?
I think we got a few things up in the air, so
we'll announce that when we know.
Yeah. But yeah, like we always say, if you haven't followed us on Facebook or any podcast streaming services, definitely do so. Thank you guys for listening in. The ones of you that do, we definitely appreciate it. We have a ton of fun doing this, and we love watching movies anyway. So we just have a blast talking about these. So we hope you guys do too, listening to us. But definitely follow us on those. If you have an option to leave some feedback or a rating somewhere, do that as well. That'd be pretty cool. So
yeah, we'd like to hear from you.
Right. So yeah, we'll call it here. But you guys have a great week.
I'm Luke, and I'm joined by
Ricky.
Sorry. Yeah, we'll hear from you guys soon.
Yeah.
Or you'll hear from us too.
Take care.
Later.